Wisconsin's top Republican lawmaker says he is done negotiating with the universities of Wisconsin over a deal involving pay raises and reduced diversity funding. Assembly Speaker Robin Vos said today he hopes the UW Board of Regents will reconsider the previous deal, but he is not open to making any changes. The Regents rejected the approved deal on Saturday during a special meeting. Some members were concerned about how the proposed agreement would target diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Last week, UW President Jay Rothman and Republican lawmakers agreed on a funding deal that would have given employees a pay raise and paid for the construction of a new engineering building. That in exchange for reductions in diversity positions for university staff. Speaker Vos says in part, quote, "This deal was negotiated in good faith. We are not changing one thing in this deal." Neither Rothman nor UW-Madison Chancellor Jennifer Mnuchin have immediately responded today to requests for comment. We will continue to follow this story as we learn more. And of course, be sure to stay up to date with the latest on our website and free news app.